is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What exactly is it that we do, Jalen?
We give the people what they want.
What is happening on the show today,
The butcher's
Jalen?
coming.
Who is the capo of the Bills Mafia?
The butcher's coming.
Who's joining us on the show? Just
The butcher's
10
coming.
minutes.
Today.
Betty the Butcher of Griselda and of Bills Mafia will be joining us on the show today, but we start with what's happening tonight, and that is Kyrie Irving is expected to make his second debut of the season for the Brooklyn Nets. This time he'll be doing it alongside Kevin Durant and newly acquired James Harden on the basketball floor. What do you expect to see from this trio this evening against the Cavs?
I want to quote the great American philosopher James Harden. Scary hours.
Scary hours.
That's what starts tonight in Cleveland. This is unfortunately for you, especially if your backcourt doesn't play, who, by the way, I like a lot, that you like to call Sexland. Here's the thing. The pecking order on the squad changed since Kyrie agreed to go to the Nets. At first it was, yeah, Kai, he could deliver us KD, and he got it done, and they were a dynamic duo. And then life happens. He missed 7 games, approximately, for personal reasons and COVID protocol. And since that period of time, they acquired James Harden, who's been an MVP in this league. Not too many people are better at something in basketball than Kyrie Irving, but James Harden is actually a better playmaker. One of the best playmakers in the entire NBA. That's not a diss. There's a reason why that guy, when you look at high point total triple doubles, 40 points, led the league in total assists, led the league in total points. Now Kyrie comes back to a team that he used to be the point guard of, Jacoby, that now that's James Harden. James Harden is now the point guard of this team. And you know how I stress positionless basketball. That embodies today's game. But James will be the primary ball handler, and I expect their minutes to be more staggered to where Kyrie can now be the primary scorer with the second unit. But it's still scary hours.
It is scary hours. It is absolutely scary hours. And you hit on some key points of how Kyrie fits in this team. How many minutes will he play? Who will be the main ball handler? There's only one ball. What about the defense? All of these sort of critiques of this fit, none of that matters tonight because this is the beginning of the relationship. This is the honeymoon phase. This is when they're all best friends. We're going to get at least one, I predict at least one time tonight that the three of them will put their arms around each other and they'll be smiling and they'll be laughing and there'll be celebrations. We know it's going to be good tonight. The question is when everyone starts to get to know each other, when we get to the end of the season, when we have a little 3-game losing streak, what's going to happen then? But tonight it will be a celebration. It will be scary hours. And the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets against the Cavs is absolutely must-watch TV. Don't forget, 76ers Celtics on ESPN. Now, Jalen, Kyrie faced the press for the first time in a long time, and he spoke about his absence. He did so sort of in code, but let's listen to what he said.
There's a lot of family and personal stuff going on, so just want to leave it at that. Just needed a pause. It's been a lot to balance, and I called for help. And now I have just so many mentors and so many people reaching out and, just taking things off my plate that were never mine in the first place. And they are better suited for that position. So I'll play my role on this big team of changing the world, and others will do the same.
Well, that was interesting. He didn't reveal too much, but some things were important that he did say. He said he just needed a pause. He said there's a lot going on personally in his family, and we've all sort of needed a pause during this pandemic. It's been trying on all of us in one way or another. What do you think about what Kyrie said about his absence?
So if you take away the veil of why we got introduced to Kyrie Irving, because he's a talented basketball player just like myself, that's why the world knows who I am. If you just take the merits of his words, you can't argue with anything that he said.
No, you cannot.
There are always times that each of us feel some sense of depression, some sense of anxiety, that we're overwhelmed by life. It may be personally, it may be professionally, it may be amongst your friends, it may be amongst your family. It does happen. So there will be people like me, by the way, who sympathize with him saying that. Because here's what happens, Jacoby. He still got to pay the fines. Mm-hmm. So there is a punishment there. It's not like this behavior took place and it went unchecked. Because this is going to cost him at least $1 million, if not more. And on his team, it cost him his point guard job. That's now James Harden's job. That is now James Harden's job. So with that being said, I sympathize with him. I'm glad he's going to be back in uniform, entertaining us, going between the legs, behind the back, putting on a show with this new big three that they got with the Nets. And we'll see how it plays out. But here's what we do know. If everybody's healthy and COVID doesn't affect the trajectory of lineups, we do know this. Who's going to be in the finals?
Oh, the Nets are in the finals. Nets are in the finals.
We know that.
Nets are in the finals. Nets are in the finals. That, right? The only question is, will there be fans in Barclays? That's the only question. The Nets will be there, but will the fans be there? It's not whether or not the Nets are going to be there. It's whether or not the fans are going to be there. And now we turn our attention to the Western Conference because there is a couple teams knocking on the door of trying to get to the finals in the West. One of those are the Denver Nuggets, led by my guy, who I affectionately call the Stretch Mark 5, but he went and got in shape to challenge that. He also got a fresh cut, which should not go unnoticed, because with a fresh cut, look good, feel good, play good, and he played good last night. What do you see from the Joker?
I have so many songs and beats and rhythms in my head. You said something about looking. The first thing that came to my mind is main source, the Joker looking at the front door. And in that case, he spent baseline backwards and did the bang bang with the crew cut. And we're going to have so many conversations about who the top players in the league. If you've watched this program, or if you've listened to anything that have come out of my mouth, I never have this conversation without bringing up the Joker. He's going to be amongst the league leaders in points, rebounds, probably is going to lead the league in assists. And you know what Jacoby said on the production call today that he loved about my guy? It made me so very happy. People think the Joker don't play D. Jacoby looked deeper in the box score. And what did you discover also, Jacoby?
Thank you for teeing me up for that. Because one thing is, we don't like to talk about the MVP too early. Remember when Kyler Murray was the MVP? You remember when Russell Wilson was the MVP? But look at this. I did a little bit of research. Look at where he ranks. PER, average points per game, rebounds per game, steals per game. Number 1 in effective field goal percentages. 4th in steals. Now, I did notice something while I was looking this up. You gotta get some more blocks, Joker. You gotta get some more blocks. Because I was like, I know I missed him somewhere, these top blocks in the league. I scrolled through that thing like 3 times. Like, I know he got a couple more blocks than this. But no, Tobias Harris has more blocks than the Joker.
So that first stat was PE crazy. And since he's first, that's crazy PE. I would assume, right? Shout to Uncle Chuck D. And here's the thing about his game, Jacoby. He's one of one. There's no player in the league that does what he does for his team. He's legitimately a point center, leading the league in assist. Just think of leading. He's shooting floaters off both legs. He's shooting 3-pointers. Like, his game is outstanding.
He spun baseline and dunked backwards. Like, he spins baseline on you and dunks, and he shoots threes, and he leads league in effective field goal percentage. There is no one else like the Joker. Can he keep this up? And can, frankly, the Nuggets win enough game to elevate him in that MVP conversation when we get to that point of the season? Well, there's another team in the Western Conference that's also trying to break into the top 4 in that conference and establish themselves, and that is the Utah Jazz. Now, the Jazz beat the Pelicans yesterday, and they did so just by raining threes from the outside. Just raining threes from the outside. They are now tied with the second-best record in the league. What do you think about these Jazz? Is this an early hot start, or is this legitimate and can continue?
I think I need to go into my cell phone and have one of my favorite players who, along with Jamal Murray and Booker, was a breakout star in the bubble, Donovan Mitchell. And as much as I loved him showing up at the game with a bulletproof vest on acknowledging the fact that people that look like us aren't necessarily safe in our own country, in particular by the people